I can imagine the pressure on you. You are Generation Tech. There are so many people watching and waiting, asking these great questions, looking for the stats and the trends, the research and the rhetoric. How well are we raising our digital generation? What kind of adults will they become? How are they being shaped and influenced? And the big question underneath all of that is, will they be okay? And the more I interact with you, the more I come into your classrooms and sit in workshops and school districts and assemblies, big groups, small groups, one-on-one sessions, the more I know the answer for certain is absolutely. In fact, I think you are our digital directors. You are shaping and leading us. You are letting us know how the internet can be a positive place. It can be a place to experiment, to grow, to connect, to influence and change. And the first time this occurred to me was a few years ago. I was speaking at a school, and I had done a student leadership workshop, and I was with the student leaders all day, and we were sitting together, and we had really talked about best practices for technology in schools. And so we were workshopping around that, and we had lunch together, and towards the end of the workshop, one of the girls, they were juniors and seniors, and one of the girls said to me, you know, Janell, I feel like this is really positive. I can bring back these strategies to my classroom, and everybody will be really excited about this. But there's one thing we didn't talk about, and I wondered if we could. So I was like, sure, yeah, let's hear it. So she said to me, how do I tell my dad to put his phone away at dinner? How do I let him know that when he has his devices out all the time, that it would mean a lot to me if he could just put it away a little bit? And when she said that, the other student leaders, the room full of peers, they agreed. They said, yeah, how do we do that? My parents don't believe me. And when I talk to adults, they don't. And then they started to share stories in this classroom. They started to say, oh, my favorite time of year is when we go up to the cabin in Vermont where we have no Wi-Fi service and nobody can work. We just hang out and we play board games, or we go to our beach house and everybody's just together. Everybody's just present. In that perspective, that day, that changed me. That shifted my focus and my teaching, because it occurred to me that while we're so quick as adults to say, oh, kids these days, they always have their heads down, they don't know how to interact, in reality, teenagers, you, are using it in balance way more than any of us. You're finding balance much easier than we are. And so we're looking to you. And perhaps if we looked at technology with another perspective, if we actually got curious and said questions like, what do you like about it? How does it make you feel? Why do you want it? Will you teach me? Will you show me what that is? Perhaps we would see a more full version of the technology. When I talk to young people, and teenagers in particular, they'll say to me, oh, it makes my education much more engaging. My projects are more dynamic. I have a learning disability, and I can learn in a new way with the technology. I can be more organized. I can keep all my notes together. I have study groups online. I can make online flashcards. Education has become dynamic because of the technology. And then, of course, they're saying their social lives, right? It's easier to have conversations. We can find our tribe easier. Maybe we have something going on in our personal lives, but we watch someone else who maybe is not a friend from school, but somebody across the world have some of those same struggles, and we build connection. And I hear adults say all the time, oh, it's impossible to make real and meaning relationships online because they need to happen in person. And I just had this experience in the past week. For 3 years, I had been friends and following on Facebook and Twitter with a colleague who lived in Texas. And we had never met in person, but we shared a lot of the same teachings and a lot of the same practice. And we got to kind of know each other's families because of how much we share, and we know each other's work. And then this past week, she invited me to speak in her district school. And it was like we just picked up right where we left off online. And so the possibility for reaching out, for finding community, for solving problems is greater. Our world has connected us. And you know that. You put that into practice all of the time. I mean, even if you think of Snapchat and how they have the stories of the headlines, and you can watch the clips of what's going on across the world, whether it's a celebration or a crisis, you can feel part of it. You can feel engaged, and if you want to get more information, the access to information is there. So while you might initially know about it in 20-second sound bites, if you just do a quick search somewhere else, you know that the world is at your fingertips. So what you care about, what you want to pursue, it's right there. So what happens if we look at technology from that full perspective? Because we read a lot of headlines that are based on fear, right? We take teenagers and we say, all young people, when we really mean some. We say many when we mean one. So getting to know how you're actually using the technology is important. Perspective is important. Engaging is important. I worked with a teenager during one summer doing a leadership program. And it was a large group, but there was this one teenager in particular who was particularly difficult. He was really mean, he was sneaky, he did not want to be participating in this leadership program at all. But he stayed with it. And we were about halfway through the program, and we were out doing a difficult hike with the group. And we found ourselves walking side by side, kind of away from the group at one point, and it was silent between us. And out of nowhere, without prompting, he started to open up. He started to share with me some stories from his personal life. And eventually he came to share a story about a painful loss that his family had experienced. How it shaped him, how it changed him forever, how he felt so angry. And all of a sudden, I saw his behaviors and his actions, while still unacceptable in a lot of ways, but I saw them from his perspective. I wasn't just looking through my judgment. I started to see him as a whole person. And I decided I wanted to see all young people that way. I wanted people to see me that way. So I made a conscious effort to start seeing things fully. Though I might not know the detail of everybody's lives, understanding that everybody comes from their own perspective. And so when I hear people say all teenagers are sexting, cyberbullying, addicted to porn or video games, or they're sleep deprived or totally selfie obsessed, I don't think that's true. I see a lot of you using technology in a really positive way. And I also see you influencing young people in elementary school and middle school. Part of the work I do encourages families to build boundaries around technology, to have a lot of healthy communication with technology. And so when I work with teenagers, I ask them to help me build boundaries for elementary school kids. What values do you think are important for kids as young as 8 and 9 going on Instagram? And the feedback I get from you is brilliant. You'll say things to me like, young children should just be playing with Legos. They should go outside. They should be living in the moment. And it's beautiful because you know that naturally. You'll tell them to spend some time away from their phones, to go out, to play, to make mistakes. And all of those things that you tell them, we as the adults, we want those same things for you. And so the technology is a place that we can connect. It's a place that we can build a bridge instead of putting up walls, saying they use it this way and they should be doing this way. And being that person in a young person's life, that askable person, we call it in youth and adolescent health being the askable adult. But you could also be that askable sibling or that askable neighbor. Because what I hear from really young children is, my parents don't understand the technology, so it's really hard to talk to them. I think you can play that role too. And that's exciting, and it's not just exciting that you can influence your own peers, and you can influence adults and young people, but you're actually going to influence how we'll use technology in the future as a society, as a global culture. In 5 years, in 10 years, you'll be making tech policy in law, in education, in government, in your personal lives. You'll be deciding those best practices. So those eyes are on you because it's about the future. And you show me all the time that you can use technology as a choice. Just because you can use it to be mean or to be negative or to be distracted doesn't mean that you do. And that's not to say that you're perfect, that you never make a mistake, that there aren't missteps, that we don't have to learn and grow. Of course that happens. That would happen if we didn't have the technology. But your willingness, your open-mindedness. When I was doing a talk in Texas a few months ago, I was talking about this principle of the no phone zone, right? So when we're enjoying a meal with our friends or when we're out to dinner or having lunch with friends, that we just try to be eyes up and engaged with those people, talking about tech mindfulness. And so after that assembly, there were some boys who were seniors at that particular high school, and they called me over in their cafeteria, Janell, come here, come here. And they had all stacked their phones in the center of the lunchroom table, and they said, look at us, we're living in the moment. And so they were gonna adopt that. And I thought that was fabulous, a fabulous example of how young people are so willing to have their minds opened to try new things. And I think that's why you've adopted the technology so well, because of that open-mindedness. And so technology can be a place where we curate our online experiences, where we choose to say, how will I represent myself online? Who will I be? Who will I be when I show up? Will I influence and ignore? Will I inspire? Will I intimidate? That's a choice. Making choices to only post positive comments, right? I worked with a teenager one-on-one who said that was his new mission. Only positive pictures, comments, otherwise he wasn't gonna comment or share. And just on the reverse of that, silence is a choice. Choosing not to comment, being a share stopper. Somebody who says if a screenshot comes my way or a conversation that wasn't intended for me, I won't spread that fire. It will end with me. Using the pause, saying, do I really want to say this? How will I be received? Can I stand by this? Is this a conversation to have in person? These are all strategies that you're putting these into practice all the time. You are actually teaching me. I've learned these strategies by asking you what's working and what isn't. And so you can curate your online life. You can use it as a tool for its highest good, to enhance your life, not to take away from you. We have these tools to add, not rob. And so I know that you are capable of being our digital directors. I see you do it all the time. And the more you do that, the more you empower others to be their own digital directors, to use their own choices. And that's contagious. And so I ask you to reflect, who will you be online and how will you show up? Thank you.